So we're shooting the Dagger. Let me have your gun. Today we're going to review the Palmetto State Armory Dagger. A lot of people like to call it a Glock Clone. I would say it is a Glock Clone. It's very Glock-ish in different ways, and I'll show you some of the differences from an actual Glock and a Palmetto State Armory Dagger. But right now we have two different Palmetto State Armory Daggers, and what we're going to do is we're going to put some shots down range and just show you what the gun is actually firing like. So we got one here that's cut for a red dot, and then the other one that we shoot is not cut for a red dot. The other one that's not cut for a red dot has less rounds through it. This Dagger has about 1,000 rounds through it already. So let's see what happens. Now that was 10 rounds. I noticed that the slide didn't lock back. I got no rounds in here, and I'll show you. The slide is not locking back on this. Sometimes those could be magazine issues. Sometimes they're not. But I did notice that after this 10 rounds, this slide did not lock back on the Dagger that actually has more rounds put through it. Here's the Dagger that's a little bit more brand new, okay? This gun, I would say, maybe has something like 100 rounds through it. I've noticed when we were shooting it before that I thought this gun was punching and hitting a little bit harder than the gun that was broken in a little bit more. But let's see what 10 rounds down range do in this gun. Notice the slide locked back open. Same magazine as we used in the other gun. Slide did not lock back open in the Dagger that's a little broken in. Slide locked back open in this one. A quick analysis of how those two guns actually shot as opposed to each other. I got 10 rounds that I put down range. This, you know, we got some same holing right here, and I like the way that that gun was shooting, and I'm not mad at this. We're all in the A zone except for this one that came out to this C zone right here. But I'm not mad at that. Let's go over to the other target right here. Now, this was the Dagger that was not broken in. This is the Dagger that just had about 100 rounds through it. These groupings seem a lot more tight. Were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and maybe that was 10. So I would say 9 rounds were a lot tighter in this A zone, and one came out to the C zone right here. I'm kind of sort of liking the way the unbroken in Dagger was shooting as opposed to the broken in Dagger, but both of them, I'm going to say they're shooting really nice. I liked what it was that we saw with shooting both of the Daggers on the targets. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take these Daggers and we're going to shoot them against the steel. Remember I was saying the Dagger that was broken in, it seemed like it wasn't hitting as hard as the Dagger that was not broken in. So I can't explain the difference on why that actually would be happening. So we're going to shoot it against some steel, the steel popper made by OTMI Targets. What's up, my man Oso? OTMI Targets. Y'all make sure y'all look them up. What I want to do is I want to show you how the hostage head is shooting back and forth. Now, I got the slide to lock back open. This is a different magazine than the one I was using before. We're going to run the non-broken in Dagger that has about 120 something rounds put through it now. And we're going to shoot it against the hostage head and see exactly what happened. The last time with the broken in Dagger, a few times, the hostage head actually did not move. Let's see what happens now. And it seems that that hostage head was whipping around. It was whipping around. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the recoil spring on this non-broken in dagger is a little bit more stiff and it's making the gun recoil a certain way. That's something I would like you guys to jump inside the comments and see if we can work this out, see if that's something that we can explain. I would love some of you experts to get in the comments and tell me about that. But it seems that the non-broken in dagger is hitting a little bit harder than the broken in dagger, and we're using the same Remington 115 grain ammo. I'm trying to understand what it may be. This is something I would love for people to jump inside the comments and let's figure out how to work this out. The gun is shooting fine, but I'm getting to a point where when I run out of bullets, my slide is not locking back. Being as we've seen what we've seen before, we're actually going to pick up a Glock. I got a Glock 17 slide on a compact lower, which you might understand it to be a Glock 19 lower. So it's kind of a Franken gun. We got a 17 going on a Gen 3 19 lower. And what I'm trying to do is see if the slide is going to lock back so I can determine whether it's the magazine or it's the gun. Let's give this a run. I got the slide to lock back using the same magazine. So this seems to be something that's random where my slide is not locking back. I do like the shot in the Glock a lot better than I like the shot inside the dagger. Everything just seemed a little bit more crisp. It seemed like it was more in sync, the gun with each other, maybe the slide in relation to the lower. But I'm liking the way the Glock shoots better than the dagger. But if I had to give it, a 1 out of 10, and I gave the Glock a 10, I'm going to give the dagger a strong 7.5. I want to talk about some of the difference in between the Palmetto State Armory dagger and actually a Glock 19. Come moving a little bit closer. Let's see this. So these two guns, they're almost identical. They really look the same. If from far away I had to say which is which, they both got the same red dot on them. They both kind of sort of have a similar slide. I wouldn't be able to tell you which is which. But the Palmetto State Armory dagger, what I would like to show is that it has these pins. These pins are roll pins. I wonder why it is they did that. That's something that I would love to have this question answered. There's a roll pin here. There's a roll pin here. And when you take this gun apart and you take the interiors out of the lower, you actually need a punch set so that you can actually punch through these pins and push them out. I've been hearing something about the trigger housing pin pushing out. Now this has well over 1,000 rounds inside this dagger right here, and this pin has not been walking out just yet. So maybe I didn't put maybe I didn't put enough rounds through the gun yet, but I don't have the same testimony that other people have. But what I will say is, with different magazines, I did not get the slide to lock back upon my rounds being done and the gun being empty. I always didn't get the slide to lock back. Now, this gun is clean totally. It's the internals are polished. It's shooting pretty good. If I had to talk about the trigger, there's a lot of wiggle room right here before I actually get to that wall, and that wall is kind of spongy right there. When I pull that and I get back, I come to this click right here, and it's not as crisp as it is inside the Glock. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Inside the Glock, I pull, it's a much shorter reset inside the Glock, a much shorter reset than it actually is in the dagger. And you'll notice inside the Glock, your pins 1, 2, 3. I don't know. Well, in the dagger, there's another pin that's all the way up here. In the Glock, the pins are back here, and they're just pins. They're not roll pins actually, which I would definitely say I like that, much more than inside the dagger. I want to talk about some holster options for the dagger, because I got an array of holsters that I actually use. Right here, we got a tier 1 holster, and this tier 1 holster, I actually run my Glock. Let me just show you. All guns are actually clear. You see it there. You see it here. I want to show you, this is my everyday carry holster for this Glock 19, okay? And I put it next to each other, and it seems that the dagger slide might just be a tad bit taller, just a shave taller than the Glock slide, which prevents it from making it inside my concealed carry holster. So if you're going to run a Dagger and you're thinking about holsters, I would make sure you can get it in your hand and you can try it first, because the Dagger slide seems to be a tad bit taller than the actual Glock slide. If I had to compare the two guns, with the Dagger being about a $400 budget gun, the Glock being a $550, $600, depending on where you buy it from, I would go with the Glock because I'm going to be thinking about reliability as opposed to anything else. And the Glock has been performing exactly the way it is we've expected it to perform. The Dagger has not underperformed the Glock in any strange type of way. But I would definitely say, if I only had $400, would I save another $200 to get a Glock? I would probably just buy the Dagger and then try and buy a Glock at another time, or buy another gun. But I'm liking the Glock a lot much more than I like the Dagger. But the Dagger is a comprehensive gun. The Dagger is definitely performing how it is, I think, and want it to perform.